Hello and welcome to the B2Beast podcast, the best place to collect killer ideas for big business. And today we have got a beast in the building. He is an elite cybersecurity expert and currently the president of Continuous Networks, where he helps businesses reduce risk and increase revenue with proper IT strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brouse. Ross, welcome to the show, brother. Where are you tuning in from? How you doing?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I love that little intro you gave about my business. Wow, that was good. That was a good little 30-second pitch there.
Yes, my LinkedIn stalking game is more impressive than most would think.
So kudos for that. I am tuning in from the great state of New Jersey. Now, withhold your judgment until the end, because if your experience in New Jersey is Newark Airport, then I don't want to hear about it, because that's not where I live.
Oh, amazing. No, it's been awesome. Our worlds have been orbiting for a while here. It's just been nice to connect the dots between LinkedIn creators, people that really are building businesses in what I would call the right way. A very selfishly or biased answer. And you've just been crushing it. So super, super grateful to have you on here today, man. Simple little softball here to start. What are you most grateful for in your world right now? In your life, your business, the whole big picture? What's top of mind?
Yeah, it's definitely the people. I'm an introvert by nature, but probably really since the pandemic, I have really discovered my extroverted qualities, and my family and the people that work in my business. Just our team. So important to me, and I just try to focus on helping them succeed in any way I possibly can. It's not just a passion of mine, it's a mission of mine, and it really helps to get me up every single day.
Love it. Now we see that theme over and over again, and I'd love to hear, maybe to share more of your story in your world. Do you have an exciting win, or perhaps maybe an epic failure of sorts in your career that we can explore? What's a super interesting or exciting story that you've had in your career, and what lessons can we extract from that one?
Yeah, so many epic failures. Where do I start? I talk on LinkedIn a lot about the couple of times that I got hacked when I was younger, before I really discovered cybersecurity. But I think, honestly, the more interesting one is how I learned to lose in business. And that's a tough lesson. It's a tough lesson. It would take me all day to tell that full story. But effectively, in the interest of brevity, I think it was 2019. We had lost almost $500,000 in that was what our profit and loss showed at the end of 2019. It was pretty depressing to see that happen, and we had gone through quite a few years of some pretty tough times trying to build our business. We had built it up really big at one point, and we had a lot of failures, made a lot of mistakes. Did not have the focus on people that we do today. And lost some major clients. And a lot of it had to do with my mismanagement of the way I did things, the fact that I didn't ask for help, the fact that I didn't really leverage my team or support them. I kind of just put myself in that top chair and said, hey, man, it's all about me. It's all about what I can do, and you need to be here to serve me. And I just had the wrong way of looking at it. And that's, I think, what really helped to lead to that huge loss. And, it was we actually made the decision to go remote prior to the pandemic happening, because our office lease was up, and we were like, okay, we're going to build this beautiful new office, and we're spending tons of money on it. We're going to do this showpiece. We're going to do the Walk of Kings with our clients, all of this great stuff. And so we had to get out of our old office, and we're like, we're going to work from home for a few months, and it'll be ready probably around 1st of March 2020. Well, that didn't happen.
Oh my God.
That didn't happen. And so we were like, okay. And they kept delaying it. But obviously it was uncharted territory for everybody.
Yeah.
And so they eventually, by the time I think we were July, August, we said, you know what? We've been working remotely for almost a year now. Let's just keep doing it. And so we got out of that office lease because they couldn't facilitate it anyway. Lost our security deposit, which was fine. And we've worked completely remotely ever since. Now, back then we were, 14 people, I think, at the time when that happened. We're now 35, and we are still completely remote. So we turned that around in 1 year because of how we started to change focus and really focus on the people and taking care of them, which sounds kind of counter because, well, you're remote. How do you take care of the people? You got to get creative, right? You got to get creative about communication. And we did that. And so we had our best year ever in 2020. We went from almost a negative $500,000 loss to a $750,000 gain in 1 year.
Damn! There we go. That's what we love to hear. The power of the pivot. Very grateful to say we had a similar chapter in our world over here. So that pivot into being remote indirectly probably accelerated you guys to be able to thrive in a pandemic era, which is something I had started to see in agency models and with like the new digital economy and creator economy. Remote work or even hybrid work seems like it should be top of the list, top of the conversation for building the business from the start. High level, like it's mind blowing to me that there's still so much attached to that office. But amazing to hear your experience, your story, kind of navigating on what could have been a very devastating thing. You could have played the victim card, but you leveled up and turned it into what ultimately was probably an advantage or an asset over other companies in the space. Love it. Yep. Love it. Brilliant story to hear. Let's jump into more of your specific world that I know your company gets really deep into understanding a business and their complete technological infrastructure. What is your approach or your system for that entire process? What we look for here is grabbing and, to the best of our ability, stealing your secret sauce. And clearly you're doing something right over there. So would love to hear at least what is your approach, or what can business owners do on their end to at least make sure that they're keeping this conversation, A, top of mind, and then B, understanding the risks and kind of where they're at in that entire spectrum of risk and reward.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's funny. Very little of it actually has to do with cybersecurity, and I would say it's a couple of core things, because you have to continue to grow your existing clients. Now we're not a once and done company. All the clients that we work with we're partners. We work together just about every single day, and so these clients are paying us every single month to be their outsourced IT or their augmented IT provider. And so like, this is a long-term relationship. We generally don't bring on new clients in a week or two. Oftentimes those processes can take many, many months of lots of conversations. And a lot of it is bringing an awareness to a generally unaware crowd about certain things inside of their IT infrastructures and environments. And so that's where I really put my finger on it. Was, wow, there's a lot of stuff that people just don't know. They think they know. And some of that is because they don't want to be sold, or whatever the situation is. They think they know, but at the end of the day, they don't. And so I said, well, how do I get people to start discovering or connecting certain pains that they have in their business with things that are going on in IT? Like, how do I do that? And so it's funny because I don't actually consider myself a cybersecurity person. I'm a marketer. At the end of the day, that's what I do. I have a broad technical background, broad technical background, and so extremely technical. If I showed you some of the stuff I was doing in my house, you'd be like, dude, you're crazy. So yes, I do know what I'm doing technically, and that's what I did for many years. But in 2018, I really got heavily invested in marketing, and I belong to this huge marketing group that's a global marketing group that is actually centered out of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm going there next week, and can't wait to see all my friends and talk about marketing for a week. But it really helped me to start to connect those things that I was having trouble with, looking at everything from an IT perspective. Because when you work in IT, you don't really understand how to talk to business people. And so I was like, I got to figure out how to do this, right? Every time I'm talking, I'm using acronyms and I'm saying all this complicated stuff, and they're looking at me with these glassy eyes. Whoa, what are you talking about? And so I got to figure that out. And I started reprogramming my brain to, every time I spoke, to talk in plain, simple terms. So if you ask me today what my superpower is, I'll tell you it's just that I make the complex simple. That's what I do. I do it with IT and I do it with cybersecurity, because there's a lot of people that are talking about cybersecurity, but they're just talking to other people that are in technology and cybersecurity, and they're not talking to the people who don't understand it. They wouldn't listen anyway because they don't get what they're saying. They're not comprehending any of it. It doesn't make sense. And so that was something that I became really passionate about. And I developed this process where I would meet with a prospect and I would ask them to rate their overall IT health on a scale of 1 to 50. And so there'd be lead up questions to that. I'd say, if you could rate it, where would you be? And it ran the gamut. I'd have people that said 10. I had people that said 45. And my follow up question to that was always, well, if I told you I had a process to figure this out in the next 15, 20 minutes, would that sound like a waste of your time? And nobody ever said no, or nobody ever said, yes, that would be a waste of my time. Yeah. Everybody said no. And so I would go through this process that I call my continuous cyber score. And what it was is a set of 25 statements that I would read that came from different areas of technology, and they would self-assess. And I'd say, okay, when we're done, what do you told me that you thought you were about a 30. What do you think it was? Now, as they're going through this process over 15, 20 minutes, they're kind of getting, this emotional response to the way they're answering. And so what they have to do is rate themselves as a 0, a 1, or a 2. A 2 meaning it's perfect, a 1, room for improvement, 0, not good. And so the more 0s and 1s they give themselves, the more they start to have this emotional feeling of, ooh, you know what? Maybe it's not as good as I thought. Maybe it's not as good as I thought. And even if they were right on the money, because I had people that say, I'm a 35, and then they scored a 35. And that just told me that you're well connected. You are aware of what you're doing. And that's even better, because now you know that you've got vulnerabilities, and you're probably going to be more apt to want to fix those vulnerabilities. And so I started using this process. This is one of the ways that we did well in 2020 as I was doing this remotely with people. Over Microsoft Teams. And I just kept doing it over and over and over. I did well over 100 of these in late 2019 and 2020. And so I got a ton of data by doing this with IT managers, by doing this with CEOs, presidents, CFOs, et cetera. And we still continue to do this process today, because it is really an eye-opening process that gets them thinking about things that they weren't really considering before that. And so that's what I use to really bring in new business. And then I did the same thing with my existing clients while applying my core value system to them all the time. Our fourth core value is business is personal. So we want personal relationships with all of our clients. And we just focus a lot on building those personal relationships, whether it's, hey, one of my largest clients, if I can't make it to a meeting or they can't make it to a meeting, I'm just texting them going, hey, listen, here's the situation. This is what's going on with my family or something. Do you have time tomorrow? Instead of keeping it like cold and corporate. Because if you don't want that type of a relationship with your IT company, then should they really be your IT company? I mean, how can you run a business without technology? And if you can't treat them like human beings and they don't treat you like human beings, how do you get positive results? And so that's always the way I looked at it. And that's paid off when it comes to growing our existing clients. And anytime there is frustration, using that to make sure that we continue to grow that relationship.
Wow. There's 2 layers of golden insights here to pick up on that I heard. The first one was reprogramming your language. I think so many people get this one wrong. It's very easy to get pulled into like the authoritative thought leader, big words, like, oh, especially the more like academic the industry or the more technical. So the fact that you were able to reprogram your language into a way that makes sense is brilliant. We don't always hear that. A lot of people always just get to the hard like checklist systems, etc. But a lot of times it's the soft skills that really make the difference coming into play. Having that social, emotional kind of navigation on your end was very useful to reprogram your language. Great advice there. And then to simplify your measuring process to a binary level of literally 0, 1s, and 2s is such a brilliant way and simple. Again, a lot of times the problem with marketing, sales, any of that stuff is it just gets too complex.
Yeah.
That people just abort mission. I don't know what I'm doing. I just don't get it. Not making a decision. And you've simplified it down to one question at a time, one response at a time. And you're slowly feeding how your solution fits into their world, and then slowly increasing that gap of risk that they're like, oh, whoa. And somewhere that threshold tips. So very, very grateful for you sharing that secret sauce. I'm curious, since you are such a technical individual as well and very digitally involved, what do you consider, like what tool or application do you consider a must have for your world, your life, your business? What's something that you have to have?
Oh, yeah. Wow. There's the way that I think a lot of people would answer that question. I'm going to answer it a little bit differently. The best tool I think that you can have is a structure and a plan going in before you start actually buying things and making other decisions. That has been the biggest thing that I have found that people make mistakes on, and a big reason why people have a lower score or have vulnerabilities is because they jump to step 4 or 5 and they ignore steps 1 and 2, which is really documentation and a plan and an approach to how you're going to handle things like IT security, IT projects, IT budgets. How do you do that if you just dive in head first without understanding what's below the surface? And I think it's a tremendous risk that people overlook all the time.
Very true. No, I think it's easy to let that one slip because you do get so excited about growth and next chapter and investment funds and Series B and like just keep it going. But if you don't have that infrastructure, it is very likely that momentum is just going to send things off the rails if that structure isn't there. Amazing to send it back to a little bit more practical, zooming out that way. So this last question is more about your personal habits and day-to-day approach. Obviously, you're running a brilliant, successful, great business, tons of employees, and doing it sustainably. So I'm curious, what habit or daily task is non-negotiable for you, or something that you just have to do for yourself every day, whether it's on the business side or the life side? What is that for you?
Yeah, and I don't know that I would necessarily do it every day. There's a couple of things. On the personal side, a big one is getting physical exercise, weightlifting, walking. I don't need to hit the Peloton for 45 minutes and feel like I want to die afterwards, but I need to be getting that consistent exercise and movement, especially today, especially when you're in a remote situation. You just need to be getting that exercise. And that is so... I say this to people all the time. If you get the physical, if you get that exercise component figured out in your life, it will start to help you regulate your brain. You will make better decisions. You will feel better about yourself emotionally. You won't be so torn by the bad things that happen, and you'll be able to recognize the opportunities when they come to you. You've got to get that down. And so that's a big one. The second one, which is business, is clarity breaks. you've got to step away from technology, whether you go outside, maybe you do it while you're exercising, but take your plan with you. Take it printed out on a piece of paper. Take your plan with you where you're not going to be distracted by LinkedIn notifications or emails or whatever the situation is, and really think it through. I mean, if you think about any great thing that you've ever created, any plan that you have, you've got to sit there and be quiet. Sit there and think about it. What if I go this way? What if I go that way? You know, do that internal SWOT analysis as you sit there and think about it. And I think that's been a huge thing that one of my coaches got me to do a few years ago, and has been a tremendous help for me.
Wow. Amazing. No, I think a lot of it, it reinforces the consistency of being able to just, all of this is habits, systems, give yourself those bumper lanes to stay on track. We see it over and over with some of the most successful people. They keep this top of mind. Absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing your secret sauce with us. Now we're jumping into the world's fastest game show ever. We're going to play a round of this or that. You'll get 3 randomly generated questions. All you have to do is pick this one or that one. And on the other end, we'll get to hear what you're up to and how people can connect with your world. Are you ready to play?
Let's do it.
All right. The first round of this or that begins now. Number 1, ketchup or ranch?
Oh, ranch.
Oh, he's a ranch man. There we go. I like it. All right, let's see what we got next. Okay. A food truck or restaurant?
Restaurant.
Oh, he's a restaurant man. There we go. Ranch at the restaurant. Oh, man. And now the last one, apparently an unofficial food theme here. Ice cream or cake?
Neither.
Oh,
neither.
Oh,
I don't eat either.
Okay, we got a wild card here. This still counts. All right, you beat the game, this or that. Congratulations. What are you up to right now this year? And how can our listeners follow your journey, get started with your security threat assessments, or just follow more of your world? How can they attach to your world?
Yeah, obviously on LinkedIn, I'm Ross Brouse on LinkedIn. Easy to follow me there. I have a huge love for IT managers and IT people, and I want to support them in any way I possibly can. I've got some really fun video series coming out over the next few months, all about IT managers. One's called Confessions of an IT Manager. Another one is called The CEO versus the IT Manager. Some really fun edutainment style videos that I've got coming out. I went to NYU for film and TV, so I just love making videos. I just love it. I have a whole production studio with lights and like rigs all up on the ceiling in my basement where I shoot a lot of these things. So yeah, I'm really excited to bring a lot of that stuff to LinkedIn. And it lends right into what it is I do. The biggest thing I think that we're doing this year is helping those IT managers get that plan in place, that cybersecurity and IT documentation plan in place for their businesses. Because it's an area that they're just all really, really, really weak and really vulnerable in. And I want to help as many as I can, possibly can to achieve that and save money. They're going to save money. They're going to run a better business. They're going to be able to see things like ROI. And I think that's hugely important.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Highly recommend the follow on LinkedIn. Well worth it. Very entertaining, and so valuable, so insightful. You are in the very small percentage of folks that I would consider doing it right out there. And it is
Thank you.
Immediately noticeable. So I just have to take a moment because I have been following and seeing your journey for several years now, and just have to give you the proper recognition and appreciation, because I know it's very easy to stray off course, get pulled into all kinds of things. So I very much respect the people that are doing it right organically out here. So thank you. Thank you for your service, your time, your talent, the film student that is bringing IT to the business world. That's what it's. just a brilliant, brilliant story. And I can't wait to see what else is in store for you, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We have one final question remaining. We're going to hand you the mic once more. And this last question is for one specific listener that they might be just starting out, or they might be stuck taking it to the next level. And we covered the systems, we covered the strategy, all the nerdy stuff. But sometimes you just need a little spark in the heart.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, what final words of advice or motivation can you share to send this listener into beast mode?
Yeah. Great question. The answer's a little bit long for that question. But, my story going back to childhood was, I had good parents, good upbringing, but I struggled with weight a lot growing up, and I struggled with friends and making friends. To this day, I'm not friends with anybody that I went to school with as a child. And it was hard. It was really hard growing up like that, and just hating getting up every morning, hating going to school, and not believing in myself. Even though there were things I wanted to do that the system wasn't really built for somebody like me. And so I was talking with one of my daughters last night, who's going through the same thing today, and she's really struggling with it. And I finally told her my story of going through all of that. And we were both in tears as we sat there and talked about it. And she looked at me and she just said, "I didn't know that about you." And I said, "Well, you guys think I don't understand you because I'm a boy, and and somehow I can't understand you because you're a girl. But the fact of the matter is, I see a lot of the stuff you're going through, and I wanted to tell you that story so you understand that I do understand a little bit." And the way that relates to anybody that's starting out and building something is that it's tough, and you're not going to have many friends, and you're not going to have a lot of support, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to do things that don't seem right. You're going to have a lot of people that doubt you and don't believe in you, and it's going to make you doubt yourself. And my journey on LinkedIn has been no different than that, even as an adult. And you just have to want it, and you just have to get just empowered by the people who say, "Yeah, I don't really believe that this is a thing," or "I don't really believe you're going to get anywhere with it." Because if you really care to prove them wrong, you'll keep finding ways to tweak it and change it and make it better and get your finger on the next level that's going to take you there. And even when it feels like it's a waste of time, you just keep showing up, and you just keep showing up, and you just keep showing up. And then all of a sudden one day, people start to have respect for you. All of a sudden one day, you get a lead. All of a sudden one day, you're finding yourself in a conversation or a relationship that is so beneficial to both sides that you never would have had otherwise. And that's why you do it. That's why you do it.
Wow. Wow. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to the B2Beast podcast. This has been Ross Brouse.
You're a beast.